be talking about things other than Shivambu that we can use to how Shivambu will work better. So next slide, please. That's a brief introduction about me. Most of you know me now, so I won't spend much time here. But if people want to refer to this, you can go back to this later on. We do a lot of things. I teach yoga, I teach pranayama, I teach Surya Namaskar. I'm a leader in Shivambu and scientific Surya Namaskar. I also do career and life guidance coaching, etc., etc. Next slide, please. Okay, so today's presentation is mainly going to be about the realities about Shivambu, facts and figures as we know it, realities of life and nature as we know it, the natural therapies prescription and implementation, and then we'll come to question time. And of course, I'm going to give you a lot of links to relevant videos from Health Siren and other places, which will help add a lot more information to things that I'm referring to in my lecture. Next slide, please. Okay, now some of the things we know for a fact about Shivambu. First, number one, we know it works. Whether the world can say yes or no or whatever, that is beside the point. We know it works. We know it is an elixir. Shivambu Kalpavidhi talks about it, and a lot of people have experienced it as something unique. We also know it's not medicine. We know it can cause cellular physiological changes to modify our bodies and organs at physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual levels. I make this claim based on the fact that so-called irreversible diseases change, revert, and improve and get cured. So unless the organ is cleansed out, unless the cancer, the diabetes, or the ill-working organ or gangrenous part is cleaned out and rejuvenated, how can it happen? So it is based on all these clinical observations that I can say cellular and physiological changes do happen. Next slide, please. We also know that it works better in conjunction with other practices such as yoga, Surya Namaskar, Pranayama, Satwik diet, lifestyle changes, exercise, etc. And this is one of the things all of us in the group frequently talk about, that Shivambu is one of the ingredients and you need to give it a leg up by helping with practicing lifestyle changes, including exercise, diet, etc., etc. But what we forget is we do not allow for the rot that has set in our bodies due to long-term abuse, whether through ignorance or otherwise. What do I mean by that? Most of us who are practicing Shivambu today have come here because we have had some form of illness or experience or family member who suffered, where all pathis were generally trialed and we failed to get results. And then we go and try Shivambu and we get miraculous results. We are convinced and then we feel we need to do something about it and pass it on to others. This is the general story of 99% of people who are practicing Shivambu today and advocating it. But when we advocate to others, we forget that if I have been sick for the last 10, 20 years, if I've been in ill health for the last 10, 20 years, if I've been abusing my life for 40 years, just because I start drinking Shivambu, I'm not going to clean everything overnight. And that we need to allow for when we start talking about adjusting our prescription. And I'll come to that a bit later. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. All right. Now, here we are going to talk about Shivambu and natural therapies. Let us start by looking at the population of the planet. The planet has got 8 billion people. That's a big number. Now, it is very fascinating and surprising and shocking to note that Google talks about close to 95% of the population of the world are sick with at least one illness, maybe more, but at least one illness. Now, that's a very, very sad state of affairs. Okay, 95% plus are suffering. That leaves only 5% which are healthy, and that amounts to about 400 million people. Now, what we need to look at is the number of people practicing Shivambu. Some recent evidence I got from China regarding some newspaper cuttings and available on Google was apparently Shivambu has about 100,000 practitioners in China. But China is the most populous country today. India has got a heritage of Shivambu, so I would suspect it would have also about 100,000 people practicing Shivambu. The rest of the world will be a much smaller percentage. Now, what we need to realize is 100,000 people in Bharat is only 0.0001% of the population. 100,000 people in China is also only 0.0001% of the population. So we are talking about very small numbers. And then when we come to our group figures, on this group, we have got, I think, between 550 or 650 people registered and who listen to WhatsApp and share WhatsApp messages, etc. But how many actually come here to listen to a conference or listen to a proceedings or share their knowledge? If you look carefully, I think if we are getting over 30, we are being very rich. Now, that is a very sad state of affairs. And most of us are converted people. So we are talking to the converted, repeatedly passing messages to the people who know what they are talking about or supposedly know what they are talking about. So one of the things we need to start looking at is how do we overcome this and try to look at the greater picture. Now, it doesn't matter whether it is due to ignorance, lack of awareness, whether it's due to privacy. There are not enough voices to generate interest or publicity around the world of what we are doing. And we need to thus work smarter, work better, have more evidence, have solid evidence so that what we say counts rather than few people jumping up and down and nobody listens. Next slide, please. Next slide, thanks. So, now, I had to add this slide in the last 2 weeks, even though my presentation was prepared some time ago, because I noticed some adverse things that are happening in the last couple of months. And this is my honest negative feedback. Some of these comments I had made 3-4 months ago when I was talking to Bala about some of the issues we were, or some of the ways we were operating under you. Where we came out and said anything and everything, responsible, irresponsible. Previous slide, please. Kapil, previous slide. Thank you. So, what we need to realize is, as I said earlier, 99% of us have suffered or seen a loved one suffer and then recover from Shivambu use. We thus feel compelled to advise and help others. And that is very natural. There's nothing wrong with that. But what we forget is we are only our own experienced people. We have not gone on to study the subject to be able to advise somebody properly. It is like saying somebody does a bit of a magic stuff with a patient and gets better, doesn't make him or her a doctor because they need to go through the training. Okay, and we don't have any training of any sort or standard of any sort. Now, in the past few months, I have been consulting on cases coming from you, and I'm noticing that they are under the impression of a lot of unrealistic and unprofessional advice, which is erroneous. People have got this in their mind that they expect magic cures, magic relief, unrealistic expectations, that Shivambu has no side effects. When people take Shivambu, they are never going to get sick. There are very little dosage guidelines provided. There is no talk of any risk that may occur or possible risk that could occur. Poor reality checks, etc. Now, this is very sad because in the long term, we are going to have problems. Next slide, please. So we all know that if there's a bad apple in a basket, it tends to rot the rest. We also know that bad publicity travels fast and furious. And we know that good publicity takes years to grow inch by inch, little by little. So we need to consider ways of culling such practices for the betterment of Shivambu knowledge, propagation, and better health and advice for all people concerned. I believe professionalism is a must. If we wish to progress in a systematic manner, positive action is warranted. These are my observations. Next slide, please. Okay, now I'm going to refer to understanding energy calculations a little bit, because now I'm going away from Shivambu and how the body operates and what it does and how it should be looked at and how it can help us. So understanding energy calculations, I've just looked at different forms of energy when they are created, the efficiency level. And I was surprised to find that nuclear energy is the most efficient. It gives, from input to output, it gives close to 92% efficiency. A diesel power plant is only 50 to 60%. Steam engine is only 40 to 60%. Coal power plant is only 45 to 50%. Wind energy is only 30 to 45, peaking at times to 50. Jet engine is only 20 to 40%. Petrol engine is only 50% max, but in a motor car, it drops to 20 to 35% only. A solar power plant, we are talking about solar energy, is at its most efficient 15 to 23%. And now when it comes to foodstuffs, growing of food, so if you have to grow rice, wheat, jawar, or vegetables, fruits, etc., all the energy harnessed from the sun, the return is a minuscule 1%. So if you put 100% energy into it, you get only 1% back. Now, body conversion from food to blood, we don't have any data. Nobody has studied it to the extent to be able to give quantified data, but I believe it may be 1 to 10% at best. This is if we are healthy and wonderful. Next slide, please. It could be less also, okay? Now, the most important thing we need to remember when I'm talking about energy and we're talking about health generally is input has to be there to get an output. Doesn't matter what you do. If you're cooking, if you're cleaning, and I'm going to use different examples to make my point. Unless you have input, there can never be any output. And this is a very, very important thing to understand, because today I'm finding people seem to think, I don't need to do much, but I want massive output. I will put in $100, but I want to win a lottery. So input is less and output expected is massive. So first most important thing, and that was what I was trying to point out from the energy calculation in the previous slide, input is always much greater than output. That's okay, thanks. Input is always much greater than output. Now, nuclear concept in the body. Now, this is something very unique, which we don't allow for. If you look at martial artists, you will find they are only skin, bone, and muscle. They have very little fat, but they have dynamic energy within them, stored within them. So that is what I compare the concept to nuclear energy. Okay, they are able to get, and we also know from data that sick people lose muscles. Doesn't matter what sickness they have. If they have major sickness, their muscles tend to shrivel up. So energy that is stored in the muscle is used by the body, and I compare that to a nuclear concept of energy, where the space doesn't have to be massive, tons of space. It could be small space, but it is rich in energy. Now, when you convert input to output, whether it is in chemical form, physical form, or physiological or any reaction, it is always going to be happening from input to output. When we talk about major changes like change from food to blood, we really have no idea of the amount of energy spent in this process. There is some evidence that whatever food we eat and to digest it, it is requiring about a third or more of the energy just to digest it. But nobody has gone on further to say to make it into blood, to make it into synovial fluid, to make it into mucus, to make it into sperm and ova, to make it into hormones. How much energy is lost or how much energy is required to get to that level? Ayurveda and acupuncture do talk about some calculations which are specific, And that does gives us a sort of a glimpse at what possibilities may be there. But I'm not here to talk about that, so I won't go into those details. We also take it for granted that we eat and blood is formed like magic without batting an eyelid. And that is a really wrong notion, because we need to be very healthy, we need to be in good condition to be able to convert it into blood. And then we also wonder when doctors tell us that we are not creating blood, etc., due to malabsorption factors affecting change. So we may be eating whatever we like, but are suffering from anemia, or we are eating what we like and we have calcium deficiency, even though we are having input of calcium or vitamin D. This is what is because the body is unable to absorb stuff of the right ingredients. And irrespective of whether you eat it or not, or whether you don't absorb it, you're going to have that deficit. Next slide, please. So the input-output in real life, I'll just try to give by example. I earlier talked about 1% of sun energy going into food. Let us take rice. Some rules apply for all growth items. So anything that is grown, and I'm taking the example of rice, we need well-tilled land with water for sowing the seed, then lots of rain before transplantation. Then some lovely sunshine and breeze for mature growth with water or rain irrigation as required. Then a dry season for complete maturity and reaping the harvest. Now, what is very fascinating and interesting to note, which we are aware of, but we don't apply in daily life, if any of these conditions do not happen in sequence or become disorderly, damage, reduced yield, or no yield results. And let me take the example of this compared to human beings. If I eat in the morning at breakfast, then if I eat morning tea in 2 hours, then if I eat lunch in 2 hours, then I have afternoon tea in 2 hours, then I have snack after 2 hours, and then I have dinner at 8 o'clock. Am I giving my stomach enough rest to cope with all this food in the best way? Obviously not. Okay, so if we don't manage these conditions well, then we are likely to have problems. Then we could have indigestion, we could have bloating, we could have gas formation, we could have weakness, we could have diarrhea, whole range of problems, or putting on weight, anything. But the system starts becoming shaky, it doesn't work efficiently. Next slide, please. Continuing on input and output and taking a real life example of cooking rice. I talked about growing rice, now I'm talking about cooking rice. We all know that we need to have a measured quantity of water proportionate to rice, proportionate to the amount of rice we have, so that then we let it simmer for required duration of 20 to 30 minutes as required, and then the rice is cooked properly. Now, if you put less water or if you put too much water, you can use the same cooking time, but the rice will either be slushy or will be dry and not fully cooked. I don't know how many people know about Birbal's khichdi, but I'm just using that example. If you have a very low flame that doesn't reach adequate temperature as required, the rice may never get cooked. If you want to fast track it, I'm a very busy man, I got only 5 minutes to cook my rice, so I turn it on full and I wish to cook fast. Either it will be half cooked or get burned. It will cook on the outside, not on the inside. So I will have a crystalline rice. And if I cook for 1 minute, stop, cook for 2 minutes, stop, cook for 2 minutes, stop, and keep repeating this 20 times, even if I have had the gas on for 30 minutes, the rice may not be cooked at all. And that is exactly what we are doing to our bodies. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute, how we relate to that with our bodies. Next slide, please. Continuing on input output for our bodies, we tend to practice things off and on, whether it's diet, whether it's lifestyle, whether it's yoga, pranayama, surya namaskar, exercise, the works. So I will exercise for 1 week and then I'll say, "Arey, bahut ho gaya yaar, I'll do something else." And then I start doing something else and then wonder why I'm not getting results. Or I'll join the gym for 6 months and then give up and don't do any exercise. And then wonder why my body is failing me. And the same thing goes with diet, pranayama, any of these items. We wonder why our bodies do not respond favorably when we put so much effort into it. This changing scenario is the major cause of our ill health, suffering, and disease. The reason I'm emphasizing some of these things, I talked about 5% of people of the world who are healthy. That is 400 million people. And close to 399 plus million people are not using Shivambu. And they are still hale and hearty, healthy. So it doesn't matter whether you are a disciplined man, whether you eat right, whether you do, if you do some of the things that are essential for your body properly, you can avoid ill health and stay healthy and fit and wonderful. Of course, a lot of factors come into it. Lifestyle, diet, exercise, discipline, sleep, stress, etc. Okay. Now, it has been well documented by yoga, pranayama, and Surya Namaskar studies that they specify, literature specifies that the body has only a 24-hour memory. That's why you must do it, practice it every day. So we need to keep the memory ticking every 24 hours to keep the body running smoothly. And that is one of the things we keep forgetting. We do something today, we don't do it tomorrow, we do it 2 days later, then we again don't do it and then wonder why our body is not responding. We go to sleep at 8 o'clock today, tomorrow I go to sleep at 12 o'clock. Weekend, I have a great time, I go to bed at 2 o'clock. Now, this is not good for the body on a routine basis. The odd occasion here and there is okay. But as a routine, if we keep switching all these lifestyle changes, whether it's diet, exercise, yoga, pranayama, sleep, stress, whatever, is going to affect us negatively. Next slide, please. So, now I'm talking about prescription, and this is one of the things I'm going to refer to about our group, where we need to do some objective work regarding getting a good prescriptive way of doing things. If you understand energy and the calculation that I've given earlier, it automatically leads us to Shivambu dosage and prescription as to what should be the dose, what should be the prescription. It helps you understand the depth of disease, the severity of disease. It also helps you understand patient attitude to change. If a patient has got a history of, I do everything for 1 week and then give up, then you know, even with Shivambu, they're going to practice for 1 week and then after 1 or 2 weeks, they're going to give up. Then you know that the results are not going to come as well as they should. Complementary modality is required. As we keep talking about yoga, pranayama, Surya Namaskar, etc., that needs to be done. And just recently, I was talking at another conference where we were sharing thoughts. One of the thoughts came out was, if we tell people to do all these things, people will not do anything. So sometimes you might need to tell them one thing and then add another in a couple of days or a couple of weeks and slowly build it up. And these are all techniques of prescription of getting them on board. You require close follow-up of changes as they occur so that you can guide them through every change positively. You may need to do fine-tuning of the prescription, whether it is the dosage or the modalities or diet, whatever it might be. Understanding these energy calculations and the changes that are happening helps us predict the prognosis of the patient. So if a patient is coming to us or a person is coming to us and saying, I've got this illness and what can you do? If you can predict and say it's going to be better in 3 months, 6 months, 2 years, it's a long job, short job, whatever it is, then person will have confidence in what you're talking about. And you can use these parameters to make a judgment of they are progressing in the right direction or they are not. And of course, achieving a cure, which is the goal of every one of us. Next slide, please. Okay, now the quality of inputs that we have. We have got quality of input that we talk about frequently that every person should be doing. And we talk about yoga, we talk about pranayama, we talk about lifestyle changes, a patient history, that's why we talk about Satwik diet. We talk about exercise. We talk about Surya Namaskar, eating frequency, and gym workouts. Now, here I will refer to Surya Namaskar, eating frequency, and gym workouts a bit more because we are going to go into more details of the others. Now, Surya Namaskar, our observations, we teach exclusively scientific Surya Namaskar, which is much different from the average Namaskar that most people practice, or the so-called normal Surya Namaskar that most people practice. We offer 70 plus levels of difficulty, and our Surya Namaskar can be as strenuous to a military man who is very fit as for an average person, as long as the average person may do level 5 or level 7, and the military man may do level 25 or level 45. But that means within a 20-minute period, both these people will have the toughest workout for their body. That is the level of Surya Namaskar we teach and we practice. So unless we practice properly, the benefit is not going to flow as expected. Unfortunately, what has happened is, I believe traditionally our Surya Namaskar were as potent as what we teach in scientific Surya Namaskar. So everybody has linked that Surya Namaskar is very powerful, and they have remembered that Surya Namaskar is very powerful, but they have forgotten what the Surya Namaskar was supposed to be like. So that has got diluted, and then the results are not corresponding. Eating frequency, corruption from other sources and advisories. Now, eating frequency, you will come across heaps of literature which says you should eat 2 times a day, you should eat once a day, you should eat 4 times a day, you should have small meals, you should eat 8 times a day, etc., etc. And this is very difficult to digest because each one is an authority in their field and giving so-called claimable evidence-based data. But the common man is confused. He doesn't know whether you should eat twice a day or 4 times a day or 8 times a day. And all these thoughts create their own problems in implementing. So if you tell somebody to eat 3 times a day and they go out and listen to all this information coming in on the wire or the net or YouTube, they walk away and think, I can eat 6 times a day, no problem. Everybody else is eating it. Same thing with gym workouts. Now, I have specifically said here, I have come across a lot of gym workouts who work 6 days a week. 3 days they do upper body and 3 days they do lower body. And they think they are doing a fabulous job. My constant suggestion is, why don't you work out a little bit less, but you work the whole body every day? And the chronology I give here, or the analogy I give here is, when we sit down and eat our food, do we eat only for the liver one day and only for the heart the next day? No, we don't. We have a mixture of food. That's why our diet, to have a balanced diet, should have the different flavors, different colors, and different textures, and different tastes. Next slide, please. Okay, now we are going to talk about yoga. Now, our observations with yoga. We have instituted what we call true yoga. At the bottom of the slide, you will find YouTube link given to what we refer to as true yoga. Our true yoga concept is based on trying to align ourselves with what yoga used to be when Patanjali was delivering his thoughts. Today, we have observed that yoga has become more like exercise, a routine where nobody bothers about doing it properly, and then they wonder why they don't get results. It is very common for me to have patients sitting in front of me and insisting that they have been practicing yoga for the last 2 years. And my simple observation is, so why are you here in my clinic? Why shouldn't you be hale and hearty? And then in the next 10 minutes, when I demonstrate to them the asana they were doing and how it should be done, they turn around and go, oh, this is too difficult. This is too difficult. So if you don't do things correctly, how do you expect therapeutic benefit? So yoga is about being one with the body. Asanas are means to the end. Here we practice yoga with music in the background, music, some song going on, and etc. Asanas are only the means to that end. They are not the end in itself. It is imperative when you practice true yoga that total control of every muscle during that asana is in your control. I very often see people practicing Padmasana. They lift up the leg and put it there. The same thing is also done by a hemiplegic or a paralyzed patient. I've seen plenty of paraplegics who can do perfect Padmasana. Does that make that normal? Their legs are weak. They don't have any strength. They just lift them and place them. And people have forgotten the true aspect of what Padmasana should be about. And I'm just using that as an example. Holding that asana for a set duration of time, and that has to keep progressively getting better. In all this process, when you have got to your final destination of the asana, then you should be breathing relaxed during the period, not breathing in pain, breathing with stiffness, breathing in agony because the muscles are hurting. And you should be able to review what is happening to your body during this brief period of inner focus, when you are totally calm and relaxed. And that is what true yoga is all about. But you will find more information on the YouTube link if you wish to go there. Next slide, please. Now, when we talk about pranayama, when we breathe, most common problem people tell me is, I'm breathing, am I not doing pranayama? And then when I ask them to take a deep breath, and they can do a deep breath where one breath is nearly 40 seconds, and their normal breath before was only 5 seconds, and I asked them, is that the same? They said, no, this was much deeper. I said, if that is different from this, isn't it better if you breathe deep more regularly? And they go, yeah, maybe, but what's the need? But people have just forgotten the benefit of using the lungs. And I give the constant example of a motorcycle. I ride a motorcycle. My motorcycle should give me 60 or 70 or 80 kilometers per liter as average. If it starts dropping and giving me only 5 or 10 kilometers, I'm going to go and bash the company representative, the salesman, the mechanic, and everybody else because I'm wasting money. I'm putting petrol and filling it in one round. So modifying your breath for desired purpose is what pranayama is all about. And there's a whole range of 100 plus or maybe more variations of different pranayama exercises or pranayama types. But we don't even know how to breathe properly. And we are running after pranayama. Anyway, there are a couple of video links that I have shared with you on YouTube. You're welcome to view that and get a better perspective of that. And you're always welcome to connect with WhatsApp with me, and I'm happy to connect with you all and help where I can. Next slide, please. A Satwik diet. Now we all talk about Satwik diet, but what is a Satwik diet? We talk about Satwik diet is essential for nirvana, essential for meditation. But don't we have foreigners who are living in the West, who live on meat, develop their ability and grow into meditative states? We do. Time has also shown us that those same people, as they go to meditative states, slowly they come off their non-vegetarian diet. But they had their meditative state even when they were in the non-veg diet earlier. So it is not like saying that Satwik diet has to be vegetarian, but the human gut and the human body has got some rules which do the best under certain circumstances. For example, my body is going to perform best only if I am between 37, 38 degrees, not the temperature outside, body temperature. If the temperature outside in the air temperature is 24, 25, I love it. But if that temperature drops below 0 degrees, then I'm struggling. I have to eat more, I have to run more, I have to exercise more to keep warm. Same way, if the temperature outside goes to 40, 45 degrees like some parts of India, then again I'm struggling because I'm sweating it out, I'm losing. So Satwik diet is something that is going to be perfect for my body. And I don't mean me as in me, I mean human body. So some of the things that we need to look at. Veg, non-veg. Generally, veg is better because human body is not geared for non-veg food. It accepts it. It reduces the damage by trying to fight the abuse. But ideally, veg is better. Lean foods are better than rich foods. Raw foods are better than cooked foods. But of course, I would not give raw food to a patient who is sick because they don't have the energy to digest that raw food at that time. That time they might need cooked foods like soups, etc., which are easy to digest. Fruits and vegetables compared to cereals. So Satwik diet has got some tabulation that you can look at. Now, naturopaths generally tend to suggest people should be off dairy, salt, and sugar. Now, one of the reasons for dairy is mainly because most of our animals are treated with antibiotics and hormone treatment to improve milk supply, increase milk supply. But that in turn passes through the milk and comes into our bodies, and then we get affected. Salt, excess salt is no good. Most foods have got enough salt, and sugar is definitely not advisable. We recommend jaggery or honey. Frequency of food. As I said earlier in my comments, we should not be eating 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 times a day, coming and going wherever we are. We look at the table, we see something to eat, we pop it in our mouth. We come back in 1 hour and say, oh, that chips look good, that masala dosa looks good, that vada looks good, let me have a bit. Chewing. We have given you a link specifically about chewing where we have focused on talking about chewing. But the most important thing that I can share with you here is we must chew till it's like a paste and goes down the throat. We should not just cut the food into 2, 3 pieces and swallow. Because remember, after the mouth, there is no teeth in the whole body. Water drinking. It is important for us to drink at least 2 to 3 liters, or if you're in hot climate or sweaty work or working outdoors and you're sweating a lot, you may need to drink more. I've listed some of the Freedom from Disease series list of videos which will cover some of these items. Next slide, please. Lifestyle changes. Now it is imperative that we need to review our lifestyle and change according to the need. For example, my routine lifestyle for the last 20 years has been going to bed at 12, 1 o'clock because I used to work till 9:30, come home and eat at 10 o'clock and then watch some TV and go to bed at 11:30, 12 and get up at 5 and start again. Now, it is not a good habit for the body, okay, because the body gets used to these bad habits and then it creates its own problems. Work routine, stress, the lifestyle of work, shift duties, etc. also have got their own cost to bear. Talking about stress, we have listed 3 different videos for you to look at in terms of what is stress, physical stress, mental stress, emotional stress, etc. and some ideas towards how you can cope with it better. It is very important for us to have a work-life balance because there's a limit. Just today, I was talking to somebody who was telling me that they're supposed to work for 8 hours, but the company expects you to work for 10 hours, even though they know it is only an 8-hour job. And the person was getting upset and irritated and stressed about it all, purely because it was catching up with her. Over the last so many months, working 9, 10 hours, and she feels she's being burnt out. Habits. One of the big things with us, we do it every day and call it a habit and forget that we even do some of these things. Habits are changeable. We are able to change, but it is whether we have the will and the desire to change is what we need to look at. Again, there's a video that will help you unravel a bit more about habits. Next slide, please. Exercise. Now, it is very important that the whole body, all the muscles of the body need to be worked regularly, every day, even if it is for a little while. When we exercise, we must sweat. I've seen people exercise, they don't even have any sweat coming. Sweat is important because that means the fluid has gone out through the body from the muscles into the skin and the skin breathes. The body temperature has to rise. You need to stretch all the muscles and ligaments of the body. And the muscles need to work through some loading factor, whether it is body weight, whether it is resistance going up and down steps, whether it is lifting weights, whatever it might be. Again, we have given you 2 bits of video connections, YouTube connections, videos on exercise, and Surya Namaskar, which we believe is the best exercise, scientific Surya Namaskar. So that might help you to look at that. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. Now I'm close to the end of my talk. I'm going to be opening up for questions. You're free to ask any questions regarding Shivambu, regarding the topics we discussed, but I will not entertain any individual case histories regarding I'm suffering from this, what should I do? Because this is not an open clinic. Okay, so keep question and please keep questions short so that we can have more people asking questions and we can try to get them sorted out. Before I forget, let me thank Balu for organizing this session and the whole team for their effort. There are Health Siren contact numbers if you wish to make use of them. I'll keep the session open for any questions if people have questions. Otherwise, I'm finished for the day.
Hello, sir.
Hello,
Good evening.
Puppet sir. Naveen here.
Yeah, who's speaking?
Naveen here, sir.
Hello.
You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. One at a time, please. Somebody was asking a question.
Yeah, I think I also spoke, and I think there was one more person who was
Yeah,
also speaking.
no, you can talk now, whoever it is.
Yeah. Hello, Puppet ji. Naveen speaking.
Yeah, Naveen.
Yeah. Good to have your presentation, Puppet ji. It is very comprehensive, and it covered all the dimensions of health. Congratulations for putting a very nice presentation.
Thank you, Naveen.
So, Babaji, my first initial question is, I think since you are into both exercises, yoga, pranayama, and also Shivambu, I wanted to get your experience working with the practitioners, patients, the effectiveness of Shivambu without yoga, pranayama, or Shivambu with yoga and pranayama. What's your observation?
Okay, these days, I tend to, when I get a patient, my first question is, will you practice Shivambu if it is prescribed?
Right.
If patient is willing, then we go ahead and see the changes. If patient is unwilling, we discard that and follow the rest of the format, whether it is acupuncture, Surya Namaskar, exercise, diet, the whole gamut of things. If it is a serious case, let's say somebody comes to me for cancer, my first remedy is lifestyle changes. So they have to sleep on time, they have to eat religiously, they have to fast if required, they have to follow Shivambu must, and they must do pranayama. Because some of these people in their fragile state, I find, cannot do yoga properly, cannot do exercises properly. But then I have lots of other things that I had, like they should sit in the sun to get some energy from the sun. They should have fresh air and sunshine. Then they should chew their food properly, which most of the things I talked about. Because fundamentally what we are looking at is enriching the body through maximum utilization of energy. And you cannot get fresh energy if you don't extract it all from the food you eat. So it is imperative that whatever you eat, if you eat it properly and digest it properly, then the chances of extracting maximum amount of food out of that is achieved. And I'll give you a comparative example. You go to an oil mill. You will not find the waste coming out after extraction of oil has got more oil left in it. They would have done everything to get rid of it. If it is a cold press version, they will just do the cold press, but the press will be so tight that there is nothing more. Then the next best they can do is they put it through boiling water and extract some more oil. But once it comes out of boiling water, the extract tastes like rubbish because there is no nutrition left in it. Now we need to develop our body by chewing our food properly so that we can extract the maximum out of it. So these are the things I would normally recommend. And sometimes I have to reject patients. Like frequently I will get upset with a cancer patient who says, "No, I don't want to do Shivambu." I said, "Go somewhere else. Because you're tying my hands behind my back and expecting me to help you." So yes, I'm a little bit fussy like that, but that is the way I operate. I hope that helps, Naveen.
Yeah. So that means your first line of advice of treatment is Shivambu.
Oh, definitely, if they are prepared to follow it, because Shivambu I find is quite potentially powerful, especially in people who are suffering of any sort, not necessarily cancer. Somebody comes to me with arthritis. To balance the body overall, Shivambu does a great job. But it requires a lot of addition.
Right. And where you have observed, sir, Shivambu has taken backseat and it has not been effective.
Has Shivambu taken the back seat and not been effective? Is that the question?
Yes. If you have found some...
Not really. Although I must say that, and my student is going to talk about it in the next few weeks, that we have had cases where they take Shivambu and it's not doing the desired, or they are getting a side effect, or some of them have got the dose that we are recommending is too high. So we need to adjust the dose. But most of the time I find Shivambu is effective, but the dosage may need some adjustment. And you need to be very particular about watching for signs to show that there is efficacy, effectiveness. A common thing I find with Shivambu, with full dose and proper utility, that within a week to 2 weeks, they get what I call the flushing effect. The stools are really cleaned out. And that is, I find, a real test of improvement in their gut flow. And once the gut is cleaner, then the absorption factor and everything else plays out. The other thing that patients give me feedback is that they're feeling better, energized. They're feeling more energetic suddenly.
Great. Thanks, Babaji.
You're welcome.
Okay, sir, I'm Usman. I got a question.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent session. I like it. Very good, super.
That's okay.
And my question is consuming Shivambu, is there any side effects or adverse effect consuming as well as applying? Especially any patients is having allopathic or ayurvedic any medication. Will it be advisable for the medication people to consume their own Shivambu or any other adverse effect?
Okay. I have found effects of Shivambu, you need to be graded. I think there are risks. I can give you a recent example. I had to advise somebody who is an elderly lady who has got gangrenous foot and poor circulation in the legs. Her blood vessels are showing 80% block, according to ultrasound and MRI testing. Now, one of the things I suggested to the relative was that we will try Shivambu, but remember, if she has got blockages in the legs, she most likely has also got blockages all over the body, in the blood system, because the body does not work. One arm and one leg block, the other arms are okay. Okay. So whatever we are going to do, there is a chance that as we try to reduce the blockage, which means we are dissolving the blockage, atherosclerotic patches or block patches, as we are trying to dissolve them, sometimes clots can fly off, just as it happens with medication as well. So there's nothing different. And there is a risk of brain damage, strokes, or pulmonary attack, because that is where the arteries become smaller and smaller and smaller. So you can get emboli stuck there and cause problems. So I had to explain that to them and say, only if you know, understand that, and you are happy to accept that risk, then go ahead and do it, because you shouldn't do it blindly and say 2 days later, "Arey, she has had a massive stroke," and the doctor will say, "Arey, kaun gadhe ne bola tha? Which stupid person told you to do this? Wouldn't that release clots?" So there are always risks. The other thing that I find in my experience, I noticed over my study of Shivambu over many years, that it improves flexibility of the body tissues. There's no question about that. Your ligaments, your muscles, etc., become more flexible compared to what they were. Of course, if you do yoga and Surya Namaskar and all these exercises, then the flexibility will be much better. But even without doing them, the tendency to have better flexibility is present. Now, one of the concerns that I have, if I have a polio patient, and I've had a few, or if I have somebody who has got a hernia which is unoperated, I do not recommend them to have Shivambu, just because if those flexible benefits pass on, their hernia will get worse. Their polio management that they have done for the last 20 years, adapting their ligament tightness to manage, will suddenly change, and they will have a bigger problem, or they could have a bigger problem. And I would rather be on the safety side. So I say, no, don't take Shivambu, because there is a risk. Or if I'm really concerned that Shivambu is essential for them, then I say, you take it, but you watch very carefully. Every week I want an update. And if you find anything untoward, like in a polio patient, that you're feeling the joint is a bit shaky because of flexibility, then I will review and discuss and decide whether you should stop immediately, hoping that stopping Shivambu will reduce that flexibility. I don't know whether it will. But these are some of the risks that I have come across.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
I am Chandrasekhar. You talked about that we should not take food many times a day, but
Yeah.
you have not gone into detail, like how many times we should take, what is the correct timing across the day, and how much food each time. Those details you have not talked about.
All right.
So could you please elaborate about that a little?
There is a whole range of stuff on the videos, but I'm happy to answer your question. Ideally, we should eat 2 or 3 times a day, no more. Okay. Ideally, we should have at least a 14-16 hour gap from dinner to lunch, dinner to first meal in the morning. Ideally, we should chew our food properly. I say 40 times. Every mouthful should be chewed 40 times. And don't stuff your mouth, because if you stuff your mouth with a big spoonful of food, then when you start chewing, the volume increases and then you're forced to swallow. I recommend everybody do an exercise where you take 2 peanuts if you're not allergic to nuts. Take 2 peanuts and chew them and chew them and chew them 40-50 times and try not to swallow. And you will suddenly find that a point comes where you're chewing and chewing and chewing, and it's a nice paste. And then automatically the swallow happens. You're trying not to swallow, but it trickles down the throat. That is the perfect thing. And I give the analogy in my videos, which you can see, of a production line. If Coca-Cola is being bottled, if apples are being canned, they have a specific set parameters of washing, cleaning, peeling, slicing, dicing, checking, etc. And the temperature at which it has to be sealed and proper sealing. And if anything doesn't happen in time as it should, the process stops. We don't do any of that. When I eat my chips or when I eat my vada pav, I just bite into a big bite, and 2 bites later, it is down my gullet. And then I wonder why I didn't get energy. I feel full, but I'm feeling hungry. The other thing, the healthy practice is to fill your plate to what you feel you want to eat. And then take 1/3 off. And then if you chew your food, don't be surprised if that is too much for you. Because aim of food is not to fill your stomach. Aim of food is to get energy into your body. So if you extract maximum energy from the food, then your stomach, your body is going to say, hey, I've got enough food here. I don't need more. I don't need to just stuff it. And there's a difference between eating for need, eat to live, and live to eat. I'm sorry, I enjoy my food, so I do more of live to eat. I will eat my meal and I'm happy and everything is good. Then I'll go across and see some ice cream in the fridge, or I'll see some sweet rasgulle or something, I say a little bit of this and little bit of that, problems. At that time, I don't feel full. At that time, I feel I enjoy it. An hour and a half later, I feel, I shouldn't have eaten, I ate too much. And this is common across the board, but we don't listen to our bodies. So my suggestion is 2 to 3 meals a day. Fill your plate to whatever you want, reduce 1/3 and see how you go. Chew your food well and then review that. Because after chewing the food, you might find you're getting plenty of nutrition and you don't need more food. And it is not because your jaw is tired. Most people come to me and say, my jaw is tired. That's why I think I'm not eating enough. I'm full. It has nothing to do with the jaw. It is just your nutrition that you need is being provided by the food. So you're now happy with that. Does that answer your question, Chandra?
Yes, sir. Just one more thing. Actually, what as per a medical, those people, I mean, in medical field, they are telling that 2,000 calories we have to take or something. So that we don't have to consider. Do we not have to consider that? And second thing is that if we take 12 to 14 hours gap in between two meals, at some point feel like weakness if we are continuously working throughout the day. So what can we do about that?
And I'm talking about gap from night dinner till the morning. So if you eat at about 7 o'clock at night, and in the morning you have breakfast at 8 or 10, then that is a 12, 14, 16-hour gap.
Okay.
I don't expect you to get up in the middle of the night, eat and say, oh, how can I give a gap?
No. What? So okay, like two meals. If we take again, at least 10 to 12-hour gap will be there.
Ideal
So
two meals you should have between 8 to 10 in the morning and about 4 to 6, 7 in the evening.
Okay.
All right. Now, what was the other part of the question you asked me?
That only, like in two meals, in between.
2,000 calories. 2,000 calories. Hang on. Look, the calorie count by allopathic system of medicine is not accurate at all. I know they don't like it when we say that, because that is based on burning the food and getting calories. But are we burning the food the same way in our body when I just go blog and gobble it up?
Yes.
They burn
correct.
the food, they burn it fully, so they show a vada pav will have 500 calories. But I gobble my vada pav and I don't let it even fully digest, and I don't get 500 calories. And that is why you will find what people refer to as junk food or fast food. Fills you up, stomach is full, but you are energically down, so you feel hungry again very quickly. Whereas if you eat a handful of nuts and chew them properly, a friend of mine actually says we can survive on 1 almond a day. You have 1 almond in the morning, you chew it to a paste, and then that's enough for the whole day. You won't die. So then it really brings to your mind to a different dimension of how much we overeat. For the last 2 years, nearly 2 years, I've been eating only twice a day, 8 to 10 in the morning and 6 to 8, 4 to 6 in the evening. No problems. But when I go to the kitchen, I finish my meal at 6, go there at 8 o'clock, I see something, I go, nibble. Now that is naughty boy. And that is not appetite, that is not hunger because I didn't eat. That is my taste coming out and saying, go on, enjoy that little bit, boss. I'm also human, you know. Does that answer that, Chandra?
Okay, Namaskar. I'm Dr. Parameswaran Pillai.
Yes, boss.
What about aged urine? Drinking of aged urine?
Okay, I don't agree with that purely because aged urine, as I understand it, when I use aged urine for application on the skin, I use anything from 3 months to 4 years old. It is very caustic to the skin. But if you don't wash it off with a shower after maximum 12 hours, it can become an irritant. And we know that. Yes. We also know that the gut lining inside is much more sensitive.
Yeah.
Okay. Now it stands to reason that if you're going to introduce it inside the body, there is going to be problems. Now, the problems are not going to be instantaneous because the body has got ways of coping with it. Are you a medical doctor, Dr. Pillai?
Yes, homeopathic doctor.
That's okay. So, you know that people eat chilies and they get ulcer after 10, 15, 20 years.
Yes.
Okay. So,
Okay.
they eat chilies, and if I even sit next to that person eating chilies, I will feel hot. When I have seen some of the people eating red hot chilies, 2, 2, 3, 3 at a time and enjoying it, they don't get holes in their intestine immediately on day one. But cumulatively over time, the body tries to cope, and eventually gives up. And causes disharmony and then health problems. I expect age urine will do exactly that, because the gut is very sensitive. Simple thing, I can take a bit of chili. If I put it on the tongue, I go, try to put the chili straight into my throat. I will run around like mad. It will burn like anything. Or take hot water. Just take hot water. If I drink hot tea in the mouth, my mouth is there to guard me against being too hot. But if I forcefully drink the hot water, my gut is going to get burnt inside, scalded. And then all other reactions will happen, excessive acidity, problems. Now, this is only instantaneous. Because it is very hot. But you and me know the number of people. I've got friends who drink hot tea. The waiter brings it to the table and he picks it up and he, oh, beautiful hot tea. And I say, you're mad. And I've got a friend who used to do this when we were at college. The waiter comes out from the kitchen. He serves 2 tables before he comes to our table. So you're looking at a 10 or 15 second delay. And my friend says, this cup is too cold. Okay. So there are bound to be, there's no question about it. There are bound to be side effects. Problem is people are just getting on the bandwagon of age urine, and then 10, 20 years later, when there are problems, somebody, medical person is going to turn around and say, who told you this stupid thing? And it will come out as Shivambu followers are mad. They drink age urine and they have no respect for the body. They should know that the gut is so lined and so sensitive that they should not drink it. And what are we going to do then after 20 years?
Sir,
yeah.
I am Rajaram. I am drinking aged urine since last year, 2 years. Daily.
You're drinking age urine. What's the question?
That is energetic.
Then what's the question?
No, sir, no bad effects. Only good effects.
I just explained that it could take 10 years or 15 years to happen. Are you happy for it to happen after 15 years? Then that's okay. Enjoy it. Don't complain.
Yes. No complaint.
Burning inside. How will you know?
Anandji, what he is saying now, he is drinking oil.
Yeah, I know he's drinking for the last 2 years. He hasn't got any problem.
For his competitions. He's a wrestler. I'm Basmas talking. That our Rajaram, he's a boxer and a wrestler and a sportsman.
It doesn't matter who you are. Your gut is still the same.
Your
gut doesn't become tough like a boxer.
Even for the competition, he used to drink this old urine, aged urine. Last so many years, 2 4 years, he is drinking. He don't have any side effects. That's what he is saying. His experience is explaining. You told that.
I'm giving you my opinion. He is free to do what he likes.
Okay, there is no clash.
My professional opinion is you should not drink urine because of these reasons. Now,
I wish to intervene. I'm Dr. Nitin speaking. Just I want to intervene here. Just I wish to know in which text it is written whether we can consume old matured urine. Okay, is there any text? Is there any as we are referring this Damar Tantra, wherein we practice only a fresh urine? Okay, I think there is nowhere it is in any text it is mentioned either in a Hatha Yoga Pradipika or else in a Damar Tantra. Nowhere it is written about the using old matured urine as for drinking purpose. Okay, so we have to, as a urine therapy practitioner, we have to follow the text. Every now and then, every individual is practicing some different things, and we cannot say that this is correct or this is wrong. So what I would like to say is, just we need to follow the text. Whatever is written in the Damar Tantra or whatever it is written in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, we have to follow that. That's what I feel. Okay, and rest all the things, as Anandji said, yes, there are chances of side effects. Especially the climatic conditions are very, very different at many places. So in humid conditions, we have seen there are so many bacteria formation in old matured urine. So we have to be very careful. That's what I would like to say.
Okay, thank you, Nitinji, and thank you, Anandji.
Naveen here. Naveen
My
here. I will
opinion-
just add
Naveen
from
will
my
talk.
experience.
My
Hello?
opinion is
Hello?
also safe.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes,
Go on, Naveen.
yes, Naveen,
Yeah.
please come.
Naveen here. So I just want to add, see, I myself experimented and also got report from many people with respect to old urine. Even we can't put it into our eyes directly. Okay. So fresh urine itself, we have to dilute little bit while washing in our eyes. Otherwise, it's still okay. Fresh urine, you can use it for washing our eyes. But aged urine, eye application is also not advisable. Okay.
Yeah.
And as Dr. Nitin told, preserving aged urine itself is a challenging task. And again, drinking is again inviting risk. So, whoever is drinking, it's okay. But my advice to them is, please make sure you are preserving it very well and it is not getting contaminated. Otherwise, we should not get some bad testimonials for urine therapy in the future.
Very good point, Naveen. I can share something with you all as well.
Okay, sir.
I
Okay.
tried urine because
Okay,
I was using it for the eyes and the skin. I thought I could use it as a mouthwash, which would be good for the mouth. It will help the teeth. When I did it, within about a minute, my whole oral mucosa, the lining of the cheek, was coming out like skin.
Yeah.
And I only thought of one thing. The same type of mucosa is there all the way till my anus.
Yeah.
If I drink it, wherever there is contact, it is going to wipe it. Of course, by the time it gets to the anus, it will be diluted. But up to the stomach, it's going to be quite toxic.
Yeah.
And it is likely to get rid of that mucus lining. Now, that mucus lining is designed to protect me.
Yeah.
Mucus lining is not there as a joke. And if people want to take risks, that is okay. But physiologically and medically, it doesn't make any sense when you know that it is going to burn. It is equally as hazardous as people advised not to eat chili if they are eating too much chili, and they still insist on eating it. What can anybody do?
Not only that, the erosions.
Okay, Anandji,
The erosions we can assume.
One more question.
Yeah, sure.
Wait. Let us finish the aged urine issue, because aged urine, what happening while the urine is getting aged? It is becoming more and more alkaline. The only thing is that what Naveen said, no, we have to very hygienically we have to age the urine, because the storage is a very important thing. How do we collect it and how do we store it and how do we use it? That is the important thing. What I am doing in between, that Nitin Patelji and Anandji said that it is not advisable to drink aged urine. It's okay. As per the text, we have to drink fresh urine. But so many experiments are going on in anywhere in the world. It is going on. So we experiment it, but very carefully. But what I do with the aged urine means, now I am drinking yesterday's urine, but I kept it very hygienically. and drinking yesterday's urine. Similarly, I used to drink very old urine by not directly. As Anandji said, it will burn your lips and your mouth. It will burn. So what I will do now, I will take some part of my old urine and I will mix with my fresh urine. Like that, I used to take cocktail urine with old urine and fresh urine. But I used to be very careful about storing and keeping the aged urine in sunlight. Like that only. I never used to store it in unhygienically, very hygienically. I used to keep the aged urine and let it become very alkaline. I used to mix with my fresh urine, at least for the touching the lips and mouth. I used to pour cover the top area with my fresh urine, and I used to drink the aged urine last so many months. But any harmful or any bad result I never happened. So this is one part of an experiment. I am not claiming any benefit out of it, and I am also doing experimenting this thing. So be very careful about doing aged urine drinking. Thank you.
Yeah,
Sir,
and for everybody, just again continuing this, just add points to this because that came to my head and it may benefit everybody. First, we should understand okay, why we are storing aged urine. First objective of storing urine was as a storage, means when we have some wounds, okay, our fresh urine is not available, or even the fresh urine is not sufficient. So for wound healing, we wanted stored urine. Okay, and then usage of urine started. And for drinking purpose, if you're using old urine, I don't have your scientific evidence for that, but it has to be diluted in any case. Whenever you are doing internal application or even external application, old urine has to be diluted, and this extent of dilution needs to be the thought has how much it has to be diluted. All those things scientifically we have to evaluate. We don't have opinion generated as of now. Okay, so it is a growing science. Let us accept that. Okay, but as a group, I think we should have a common understanding that aged urine should not be used for internal application, and also aged urine should not be used in a concentrated manner. Okay, it can be used for wound healing after dilution, and it can be used for inoculating fresh urine to get more old urine benefits. Thank you.
Sir, one more question.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, one more question.
Yeah, sure.
Last question, Prakash doctor told me that don't use urine after 12:30. Use the urine in the morning time only. In the evening time, you just pass it away. What is your opinion about that?
Then it depends what you're doing. If somebody is on a urine fast, he is drinking 24/7. If somebody has got a severe problem, they might drink 2 or 3 times a day.
So after 12:30, is it the time to drink?
After 12:30 in the morning or night?
In the morning. Only in the morning.
No, there's nothing wrong with drinking, but most important is the first dose in the morning that you get up and pass urine is an essential one. You cannot miss that and then say, I'll drink after 12:30. Then don't bother.
No. It is from morning 3:30 to 12:30.
But you will get up sometime in the morning from 3:30 onwards. So when you get up, you use that, you drink it. That's fine. Now, if you're going to fast all day on urine, then you need to have urine all day. So you keep drinking till 12, 1, 2 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, no problems.
Only in the fasting it is used, but otherwise it is used up to 3 or 12:30.
Sorry, I missed that. What was that?
Only in the fasting it is advisable. Fasting.
No. Look, it depends on the prescription. This is what I keep telling you all. Nobody listens to what is being said. There are people who might need only 1 dose in the morning. Generally, one dose is good dose for preventive health. For people who are sick, they might need 2 or 3 doses during the day. For somebody who is very sick, may need to fast 24/7 or drink urine 24/7. So there are horses for courses. For each type of condition, there might be a different prescription. So I don't know where this 12:30 magic comes from. Somebody creates it and everybody follows it like fools. I'm sorry.
No. The doctor has prescribed only.
Which doctor?
The doctor has prescribed.
Which doctor? Is there anybody who knows about Shivambu before they open their mouth? Don't tell me all that.
The last time we talked like that.
Somebody comes up and starts talking from their hat and everybody follows just because they happen to be a doctor. They should know better before they open their mouth. If they don't know, they should say, I don't know, not just say anything.
Okay, sir. This is another question.
Yeah.
Earlier your session, you had said fresh urine is not advisable for body massaging application on your body.
Sorry, urine is not applicable for massage.
For the body, yeah, fresh urine. You said it in your previous session.
Is not advisable. Correct. Go ahead.
So what is the solution to the fresh urine? Somebody is applying on the body. What is the consequences? Any problem?
Well, we believe there will be problems, but we don't have data to show us that what the problems are. See, these things matter over long duration of time. We have only got evidence from Dhamma which says you must have urine which is reduced to quarter. So if you take fresh urine, collect 1 liter, boil it to 250 ml and then use it externally. Or we use the other formula where you have at least 3-month-old urine for external use for best results. And what we have noticed is 3-month-old, 8-month-old, 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old have got different levels of benefit. I can share a case with you where somebody had massive skin problems. Their skin looked like leather and constant itching. And I had 2+-year-old urine and I gave him a sample for test trial. So I told him to apply it on one arm and not the other arm and see what happens overnight. And sure enough, next day morning he came up and he said, oh, I didn't scratch at all that day on that arm. The other arm is still scratching. But then for somebody like him, if you give him only 3-month-old, may not be as effective. And that is what I mean by specific prescription. You can't just say, take anything, do anything, everything will be okay. And then when it is not okay, nobody is there to guide them. So they go away unhappy. And that is what I'm talking about, rotten apples. These people are going to tell everybody, we went to UUU, we went to Authentic, we went to so-and-so, and they gave us this advice and it was useless. How good is that? But since we have a group and if we have a standard like Naveen was saying, that we do not recommend aged urine for ingestion. If they want to do it themselves, let them do it. But we don't recommend it. And we have certain standards and we have certain protocols. And we follow that and guide people correctly. Then you will be surprised what people will go away and say, that was useful. And then good publicity will come. The reason I had to talk about Shivambu in my earlier slides today, which I wasn't going to talk about, was purely because I've had in the last 3 months, 3 or 4 cases coming out of our groups who have come up with, I'm getting a bit of a cough after I take Shivambu for a month. Why should it come? You're not going to be immortal just because you take Shivambu. You're not ever going to not have any disease because you take Shivambu. Shivambu will give you better immunity. Shivambu will give you better strength. But if I take Shivambu and I go to sleep at 2 o'clock in the morning, I don't eat properly, I don't exercise, I do all the rubbish stuff, obviously my health is going to suffer. And then I can't say Shivambu didn't work. I have no right to say that.
So what is the reason? What is the reason the fresh urine cannot be applied on the body?
What is the reason?
If you can doing, why can't you apply it?
Because it's not effective. You can apply it. You can apply water to the body. Is it effective? No.
Sir, let me just add to this, if you can permit.
Yeah, sure.
Sir, fresh Shivambu, the protocol is you can reduce the Shivambu to half or so ever and then use it. Correct. So that its effectiveness increases. You just see our fresh Shivambu is fully, a lot of thing is water, and it's just like massaging water on your body.
Correct.
And if you are practicing auto urine therapy for over 10 years like me, I use many times fresh urine, okay, for massaging, right? For me, it's okay. But if you are treating patients, if there is a subject, means there is, as doctor told, leather skin had become like a leather, right? So it has lost life force. If such things are there, then older is always better. Understand these things, okay? Three liquids I will talk about, how the aging helps them. One is the ghee. The ghee, as it gets older and older and older, its efficacy increases, and the quantity of ghee required for medication is reducing. Even if 2 drops of 100 years urine, sir, 100 years ghee is fantastic. Same thing. Its internal properties will change. Formula will change to better thing. Like that here also, it is not just the urine becomes caustic. Okay. So many amino acids changes and so many chemicals changes. See, we have not, as I'm mentioning, we have not done much research on that. But let us understand that for efficacy, we say, please don't use fresh urine, use old urine. If you don't have old urine, then use fresh urine. Something is better than nothing. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I don't agree with that, Naveen, in terms of using fresh urine. We just don't know what it doesn't do. We just think it's helping.
Sir, if you don't have old urine, right? And because building old urine takes some time, isn't it? And let us see, as a community, how much liters of old urine we have to give it to patients, right? So in that circumstances, advice is you have to inoculate the fresh urine with old urine. If that is also not possible, then we have to go with this policy of reducing the fresh urine and do massage. If that is also not possible, then we can have the fresh urine for massage. I mean, this is my experience. That's it. Okay. I think others may share their thought process.
Fresh urine being used for massage for therapeutic benefit. You can use it for massage. You may not get results. And that is why Damar Tantra's formula of reducing to 1/4 has got validity. So people can collect urine for 2 days, boil it to 1/4, and then get the best therapeutic effect. And after all, what we are talking about is therapeutic benefit. We are not talking about just doing it and saying I have done it. Then that is a different ball game. Okay, just as
yes, sir. Even when I mentioned, use fresh urine means reduce fresh urine.
No, sir.
Can I finish?
So when I mentioned use fresh urine,
just as some patients may require a 24-hour Shivambu to be taken because their condition is severe, and others may require only 1 or 2 doses during the day. So similarly, therapeutic benefit has to be there, and to get therapeutic benefit, it has to have either quarter reduced fresh urine reduced to a quarter concentration, or minimum 3 months plus urine is my personal observation. And then the therapeutic effect is phenomenal.
No, Dr. Anandji, here the question was not therapeutic use. He was asking just for massaging for a prevention of health only, not therapy.
Everybody is doing it for therapeutic. They are not doing it for just fun.
No.
They want some results out of it. That's why they are using Shivambu. Otherwise, they would use water.
Not Anandji. If there is a psoriasis case, they have to for better result, they have to use.
No, you won't get better results with fresh, is what I'm saying. Collect for 2-3 days, boil to quarter, and then get the results, and then see the difference, and then let us compare.
Yes, yes. That's what.
Just a fallacy we
But
have that yes, it is
people,
good.
but people does not have any disease.
This
They can
Western
do.
concept of something is better than nothing
Yeah.
is not acceptable in real life. Something is better than nothing, so you just do it.
Yeah, but is there any reaction, adverse effect if you use the fresh urine on your body?
Sorry?
Is there any reaction, adverse effect if you use fresh urine as an application on the body?
I mentioned earlier that we don't have enough evidence of what side effects
No use.
we use fresh urine. But we know it is not as effective as age urine. That much we know.